First thing I want to say is, you guys, I started really posting on this channel less than a week ago, and everyone has been so supportive. So I really thank you for that. Thank you for all the likes and comments and subscribes. I feel very supported and excited to bring you guys new content. So today what we're going to talk about is risk analysis. Do you invest? Should you invest, or should you play it safe, right? Because this is something I think is coming up for a lot of people, especially in this economy where people are kind of scared. They don't know what's going to happen. And people are trying to figure out what to do with their money, because all the things that we thought worked, right? Like all of the traditional ways of, investing money, growing money, those have changed very rapidly. So I want to talk about this topic, and I want to share my ideas on, should you take a risk or play it safe? And really, what is the difference? So the first thing I want to say is, in my opinion, and also none of this is financial advice, so don't get that. In my opinion, everything is a risk, right? Like, we think we're playing it safe a lot of times. We're always trying to our brains are always trying to find the safest option, and we're always trying to be safe as possible. But truly, life is a risk. From the moment you're born, you are taking risks. And as we assess things, I don't think we understand that our brains aren't necessarily accurate on what's a risk and what's not, right? A lot of what's happening is we are conditioned. We live in a society that tells you certain things are safe and certain things are not. And so we usually tend to make our decisions based on somebody else's idea of safe, or something we've been told, or something that, has been safe for so long. But truly, the future is always evolving and changing. And I think we can see now more than ever with technology and how fast it's moved and how fast it's changed everything, that it's no longer necessarily safe even when you're playing it safe. And I'm going to describe why I think this. But just to kind of understand that, I would say that COVID is a good example, right? Like, COVID hit and none of us saw it coming, and all of the things that we thought we knew, that we thought we could depend on, all of a sudden, everything was up in the air, right? And I think a lot of people realize, you think you can count on this trajectory, you think you can count on this future, and you can see it coming, and you'll know, and you can predict what's safe and what's not. And COVID really taught us that, right? Then the vaccine came out, and people still got COVID, and people stayed in their house and they still got COVID, and some people went out and they didn't get COVID ever. So I just kind of say all that to illustrate why, even when it comes to investing, I think that a lot of times we have the wrong assessment of what's safe and what's risky. And also, we don't realize that even when we're making these safe bets, there's still risk involved, right? So that leads me to the next point, and that is that I think that our current dollar is riskier than we realize. And I want to just tell you why I believe that. The fiat system, the Fed, all of that has been in place for as long as anyone that's watching this video can remember. So we really haven't known anything different, right? And for a long time, the dollar was the most stable currency, and, it had a high value worldwide and all of this stuff. Well, then again, COVID hit and things happened, and, we can talk a little deeper on what may have been intentional and what may not have. But a couple things happened all kind of in, a very rapid, what do you call that, where they all happen one after another. And one of them being technology. Blockchain technology has been around for a while, but it really started to escalate in the past couple years. COVID threw our economy into just this crazy up and down kind of just chaos. And one thing that came out of that is that, first of all, fiat is now in a high inflation trajectory right now. And yes, it, over the time, it has bounced up and down, and things like this have happened before, but there is a caveat. And that caveat is that blockchain now exists, whereas it didn't before, right? Now, as we kind of spiral into this crazy, these world events that are happening, and decisions our government is making, and wars that are happening worldwide, and all of these world events, things are kind of shifting beneath the surface, right? I've done some self-study, and, there's possibility that different countries that get pissed off at America may get away from really being supportive of the dollar. that's a possibility. So there's different things like this, as we face inflation, as we piss other countries off, as we face all these different events that are putting the fiat as we know it at risk. And I think blockchain technology is one of the things that is allowing all these other countries and different companies and all these people to think outside of the box that we've been living in for a long time, and to understand that we don't have to depend on the current currency if we choose not to, right? There are now other options. And so to me, that's a little bit risky for the American dollar that we've just kind of, felt like we could rely on all of this time, because what that can look like is several different things. It can look like other countries adopting blockchain and different coins and using those instead, and putting the value in those instead of the American dollar, which will take away from it. It can also look like countries coming up with their own digital currencies, and eventually what we know to be the dollar to change completely and evolve into something that we cannot necessarily predict fully right now. So I say all that to say this: if you are keeping your investments just in kind of the traditional safe investments, 401ks, CDs, bank accounts, these things, there's a lot of possibility that your money that you're putting into these things that you consider low risk, that aren't really giving you a high return, retirement funds, etc., that your money is depreciating so fast, and to the point where when you actually access it, when you actually go to get the return on investment that you thought you were getting through these safe mediums, you could potentially not even have anything there at all if the current money system dissolves. I'm not saying it will, but see, these are the things to think about, like when we decide like, oh no, I'm going to play it safe, to realize that that's not necessarily safe, right? And to consider all of the factors between what looks high risk right now but could actually be much safer in the future. So now you're probably thinking, well, this is depressing, like nothing's safe, right? And so this is where I'm going to say, like, no, I don't look at it that way. I think that a lot of this is your mindset and your perspective is going to dictate, how you make investments and what you consider to be safe and high risk, low risk, all of that. But what I would say to this is, like, it's actually kind of liberating to realize that everything is a risk and the future does not exist yet. We are all creating it as we speak. Every day when we wake up, collectively and individually, we create the future, right? Like, that's kind of mind-blowing. It's also liberating, in my opinion, because it's something that gives us the reciprocity, the autonomy to intentionally take our own risks, make our own decisions, instead of just following the crowd or following what we've always been told. To me, is a time to take our sovereignty back, right? Especially when it comes to our finances. And it's actually exciting, because when you decide to actually take it into your own hands and explore what is out there and decide what risks you are going to take, decide what's risky for you and what's safe for you. And that could look totally different, right, than what you've been told your whole life. But it's not until you take it into your own hands and you decide to do your own exploration and research and figure out, and really learn and educate yourself on how you want to manage and control your money, what you want to do with that, what you want to do with your life, then everything is available to you, right? You get to decide. So I'm not giving financial advice, as you all know, but what it is like, I'm in a place in my life of taking intentional risks that I have researched, that I understand what they're about, and that in my mind have a lot of promise, right? Like, I love to see the future of a project before other people see it, because I think that's always the best time to invest. But one of the things that I would say too is, like, realize what your biggest assets actually are. And one of those is yourself, right? And so invest in yourself, whatever that looks like for you, because whether it looks like learning about investing, learning something new, or, doing something you love that makes you feel powerful and awesome and amazing, or whatever it means to you to invest in yourself, like, you actually are one of your greatest assets. And if you see it that way, you're going to give yourself the permission to do your own research and listen to yourself, right? To listen to your intuition, to understand investments from what is actually something that works for you rather than something somebody just told you to do. Even though things are really scary and kind of uncertain right now, I think this is actually one of the best times for those of us that want sovereignty over our financial freedom, our financial life, to really get in and take advantage of what's available and to continue to evolve that, right? What I feel for myself right now is that there are some opportunities I will take right now that may not be as lucrative in the future, right? And there may be something else. And I think to me, that's the most important part of doing your own risk analysis and, figuring out how to take risks and be safe is keep your eye on what is coming, right? And also what will serve you right now. For instance, for me personally, like I'm in, DRIP in Animal Farm in the DRIP network and Forex projects. And I see those as both short-term and long-term, because what I know about the Forex Shark ecosystem is, like, I've listened to all the AMAs. I've been very curious as to, like, who is Forex? What is his vision for the project? Where is he going with it? And because I know all of those things, I have so much faith in the project, right? Whereas other people, they just look at it and they look at the numbers, they look at the chart and they get all like freaked out, or they get all, negative about it. And when you take sovereignty over your financial future, you go all in and you figure things out for real. To me, it's about asymmetrical risk, like offsetting the risk by diversifying your asset portfolio. It's not about just finding one thing and only ever staying in that one project or that one investment, right? That is the lowest risk way of being an investor, because you are taking advantage of all of the opportunities that come your way, but you're also diversifying, and you are going to ultimately, if something does happen in one of your investments that is maybe higher risk, you're going to offset that with the investment over here that is lower risk, that's going to, kind of balance that out. So, not financial advice, but that's a smart strategy, and that's one strategy that I'm following myself. And then just to touch back in on something I said earlier, the other thing that I think is just the most worthwhile investment of your entire life is to invest in yourself and in the people that you love. And don't forget that those are your most important assets. That's all I got for you today. Peace out. Mwah.